Is it more
Pretty
than
rough.
just the type of barbecue sauce, like
That's
red
part of it.
to gold or vinegar to gold, or what is it, like mustard based to tomato based?
Vinegar based.
Vinegar based. I love mustard based, but I grew up on a vinegar based too. So Virginia, we steal everybody else's style, so it's all different types. We don't have our own. Welcome to Big Sky 35. We just came into a great discussion on barbecue sauces in North Carolina. We have Triple Crown 24, J.T. Love having you on, my brother. Great man in the hobby, a person we look to, many of us, for information, sales, purchasing, what we got. Great wealth of knowledge, and he's open to about everybody. Great person. Welcome to Big Sky 35.
I'm glad to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
And we talked a little bit before the show started. So you went to a show one day and set up one day. Is that what you're saying? At two different shows?
Yeah. Which it's been a while since I've done that. I'm feeling it a little bit, but it's good. Good warm up for the national. Get back into national shape.
Right. You got to kind of break in a little bit. I understand that. So was both shows good traffic, good overall presence of people, good vibe? What would you say at these shows?
I'm going to put a video out about the one tomorrow, and from what I was told yesterday at the show, people were saying like, "Oh, the traffic was really good today." And to me, I don't know if it's just because it's a larger space and they like to space out the tables at this show, but it felt like there wasn't as much traffic as there normally was. But the dealers were telling me otherwise. So what that tells me is that the people who are going to this thing are going there to spend money, and that was really the thing that I saw today for my table, as well as that most of the people there I saw walking around who had bags or cards or boxes in their hands. So they were spending money to some extent. How much they were spending, I don't know, but those who were there to play, which is always good to see. I think I'd rather have 50 people at a show who are all actively engaging than 500 who are just kind of walking around doing nothing. So
looking for that one special thing that gives them the tingles. Yeah. That's good to hear to one extent, because I've been really interested on. I've been watching a lot of because of Carlos talking about Toronto Expo that's going on this weekend, which is kind of like they're close to a national. Sounds like it's just as big up in Toronto. That's on my bucket list to go to. Hopefully next year I'm going to try to go, but sound like there it's a lot of trading going on and in currency, but it's still a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people. So that's a good thing. We'll get to this question, get it knocked out, and hopefully we won't have to talk about it anymore. Pricing. Do you see the pricing up, down, the same? On certain cards, where on the overall do you see the pricing when you were at these shows?
I'm probably not the best person to ask on your more common things. Like if you want me to tell you what a Luka Prism rookie is going for right now, I couldn't tell you.
Right. So I love baseball.
Right. But to even tell you, like, the only reason I know what a Soto rookie was is because I was on a Twitter sales thread before we hopped on this, and I saw someone selling one, and they posted a picture of some completed sales on the Soto rookies. That's the only reason I know that. So I can't speak for the more common cards. I can speak on the stuff that's a bit more rare. And there's a lot of things that I see popping up where how I approach it is that I will look for something and I will look at what the dealer has it priced at, and I will kind of think in my head, does this seem right or does this not seem right? And sometimes I'm completely wrong, and there's something that's they have it crazy overvalued, and like, oh, okay, well, I'll move on then. But for the most part, even when you see stuff that is priced very high, I mean, there was a card today, 2 cards today actually, where I got $50 off of sticker price, and for that, one of that was 25%. One time that was 12.5%. So that's not. I mean, that's 2 different things, but people are more willing, I think, to be flexible and willing to make deals with you than I've seen probably since the start of the pandemic, which I think is incredibly healthy for the hobby. I don't know if these people are taking extreme losses. I know that on my stuff, some of it I'm getting a little less than what I would hope for, but I'm still in a position where I'm comfortable with the price that I'm getting for something. So
Right.
I do like where it is in that respect, and I'm hoping that's something that we see continue here as the year progresses.
Yeah, because something that even when me and Natsman went to the card show a month ago, month and a half ago, whatever it was. I've been to only a couple of toy shows since then. I've been hearing a lot of the same thing is, hey, what can we do? Because you just mentioned you went 25%, 12% down. And that's what I've been hearing is like, try to start around 20% lower than what they're asking or below the comp, because that's kind of the way the trend's going right now. And it seems like, you might even want to start more than that to get to that 20%, but that seems the trend. So, of course, I tried this and it's like, oh, I got to see how much I'm into this. So as a seller, you're on both sides of the table. So I love this. I'm getting this 2 different perspectives from the same person. This is awesome. So as a seller, do you think of that as well? Or do you just go, hey, this is the most I'm going to get out of this. I might have to lose a few bucks, but I'm going to make it up on this other card? Or do you hold on to it and hope it bounces back?
It's one of those things where it would really depend on what it is, but most of the things that are in my case, I'm not too attached to. Like, for example, one of the my Soto X Fractor, I don't put that out in the showcase because I have a feeling that people are gonna beat me up over the fact that it's a 7. They're gonna bring up the fact that he's not having an absolutely incredible season. He's off to a somewhat of a slower start, even though he's playing with a AAA team around him, and that's just factors beyond his control. So I'm not going to put it out just because I know that it's one of those things where I don't want to be in a position where it comes off as I'm stubborn or inflexible on that. But as for the rest of the stuff, there's a couple of ways to look at it. As long as I'm making what I need to make it to justify it for me, then I'm okay with letting someone else get a good deal. People might say, well, you're leaving money on the table. That's fine because that person's likely to come back to me again and they're going to know that I have reasonably priced stuff. And the same thing goes with maybe taking a $5 or $10 loss on a card. Have I done that before? Absolutely. But sometimes you get really good customers or people who will make it up for you later on down the road. Like I sold a card today to someone who is a very good a hobby friend of mine, or just I'll call him a friend of mine. And I took a bath on that card. I lost, I think, like $15 on it. But overall, like the span of all of our transactions, I've still gotten what I've needed to. And, you give them a bone every once in a while. People, I mean, I'm just probably like you guys here. Like, do you like to feel like a dealer is trying to suck you dry of every single dollar that you have when you're going to buy a card for yourself? Right. I don't think anybody likes that. And I try to make it, I am a salesman, but I don't want it to come across as a salesman. Ultimately, I have the goal of making the sale, but at the same time, it's a balance thing where it's supposed to be fun. I don't want this to be like a painful experience buying from me. So,
yeah, my issue with that is like, I'm a hobbyist. I'm a collector. When I'm going to sell a card that, I just want to get rid of some stuff, I'm just happy that it's just somebody else's collection that's going to want it. So I just try to get whatever I get for it, if I get anything. Or so I take that sentiment out and I send my stuff to somebody else to let them sell it.
Sell it for what you want to sell it for.
Yeah, and let them do the best they can with it, because that's been a great help for me in that aspect of it. So when you were this weekend, did you come across that as a buyer at all? Like, can't do, even though you're looking, or you might look, or you know this card is well below asking or what you're negotiating for. I mean, you just walk away at that point, but did you run into any of that?
I want to make one quick aside. Baubles and ball cards. As soon as I said that, I immediately regretted the phrasing. So yeah,
yeah, but you can't go. Look, that guy Soto is Soto. So I was upset that you said, "Oh, he's not having a great year around a AAA team." Yeah, I knew he had a great weekend and all, but man, he's one of the best ball players that we have right now, regardless of who's around him. But you're 100% right. That's part of the problem. Right. But yeah, going back to that question, I saw when he said that too. So,
well, that's the thing with a lot of his cards too, is that people will, like on the Soto stuff that I ask for now, a lot of people say that I'm into it for this much, and the price has dipped on some of the cards. It depends on what it is, I really think, but I'm not concerned about that in terms of the rest of the talent that's in Major League Baseball right now. There's not too many hitters who are having a great year. People are on Trout's back for his little slump right now, and he's right there in the conversation for AL MVP. With I would say Judge is right there too. So everybody goes through slumps. Everybody has bad months, halves of years, seasons. So it's one of those things where it's a long-term game. But yeah, I do see that sometimes where it is long-term, and some of these guys put money into certain cards thinking long-term that this is going to work out for them. But I find myself not running into dealers too often who have things where they're telling me that, just because I think that the cards almost tell me that themselves. Like when I walk up, and I always pick on this guy, and if he ever watches any of this content, I'm so sorry. But PJ Washington, like I saw a few slabs of him, PSA 9s, and people were asking $25-$30 for them. And I'm sorry, but you're just not going to get that anymore. There are so many of them out there. And why would I specifically buy yours for $25 to $30 when I could probably go buy one right now for $10 on eBay? I get that I don't get it right away, but I bet if I went to go try to ask for it, the answer would be, nah, I have too much into it, and that's not my problem. I'm sorry that you paid so much.
Thank you. I get so sick of hearing that.
Yeah,
I guess it's so aggravating.
That's the point. Is like at sooner or later, I mean, if the trends are hidden where it's going down, I don't never really see us going back to the not even pre-COVID, the way it was probably the year before, because we were already going into a upward trend pretty well before COVID, and with COVID, everybody being locked in their houses kind of fed into it. But I think boxes are finally starting to get back to, they're not going to get back to the way they were. They're getting back to somewhat of a normality. They should be giving away Series 2 instead of selling it. That's a story for another day. We'll probably talk about it a little bit later. But I got too much into it deal but that's just the trend. You should have sold it last week.
You need to make some shirts up to say that and sell it at the National. You'd make a fortune.
No doubt. And maybe Eric, he's getting some shirts, or he's pulling out the old school ones, ain't he, for the National. So yeah, the National, we'll get to that in a little bit. I don't want to get too ramped up into the National talk, but I want to touch on one thing. You were in our world, the premier collector for Miguel Cabrera. That's where your name comes from. And the reason for it is a great story. Tremendous story. One for the ages. And I mean that with all sincerity. So not only is he from your town, but the reason why is great. He plays in your area there.
Yeah.
But the thing is you not giving it up, but only staying with 5 of his big cards or your most favorite cards of him and dealing off the rest. I know you thought long and hard, gave a great story on why, and it's very understandable. But how hard was that to come to that decision, and how hard was it when you started selling off some of the ones that didn't make it into that top 5?
Those are 2 very great questions. I appreciate the kind words, and
Yeah,
we could probably have a whole video just on this, but I will say that I had some reservations at first getting this stuff put up there, and I started very slow and eased into it. But a lot of what I was finding is that there were people who were as equally as passionate about collecting his cards as I was, and a lot of them are the ones who ended up with these cards.
Well, that's
so
good.
in a sense, it was. This is going to sound really dramatic, and I don't mean to make it come off like this.
No.
But it feels
I'm a
like
watery eye just talking about it. But go ahead.
Yeah. If you had to give up, say that you had a dog and they had a litter of puppies, and you kind of want to keep all the puppies, but you got to let them go to some new homes. But
Right.
it helps when you know that they're going to this animal lover or someone who is in need, like they could use the emotional support or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So that's kind of what I saw with that, and what it helped me do as well, is it kind of brought me back to originally why I got into cards full time selling wise, is that my whole idea with it is that I want to be the bright spot in people's days. Like I want them, if they're having a bad day, to come home and see some cards waiting in the mailbox for them, or at a show. I want to be the one who gives them an experience or gives them a card that they'll remember, and hopefully they'll come back. But even if they don't, it's something that they'll remember. It's a card that will mean something to them, and whatever they decide to do with it, hey, if they want to go flip it and they make money on it, then I'm glad I could be the one to serve it up on the tee for them. If it's something that's their coffin card, then those are the types of stories that really stick with me, and I've had a lot of great experiences selling cards to people. I got a comment on my eBay feedback profile last week. Oh boy. And it was someone who said that they'd bought a heritage short print from me, and they said it was the last card from their set. And that was something that stuck with me, just because I thought that was so cool that I could be the one who, they paid me for the card, so it's not like I just gave it to them, but I could be the one who they used my store and my brand to complete their set. And even if it was just contributing to it, it makes me feel good knowing that I could, all the passion and knowledge that had to go into building up, and most importantly, probably the time that went into building the collection that I had, being able to kind of pass that along to people and see them enjoy it has given me more joy than it was actually building it up myself. So I think I'm a big everything happens for a reason type of guy. And that was something that really has opened my mind and opened my eyes to certain things and gotten me back on track with where I want to be going forward and kind of what my mission statement is. So that's probably not the answer you were expecting, but it was actually a lot easier than what most would probably think it was for me. So
I got a question for you, JT. What would we've talked about going to a show, you're the buyer to seller, people buying, completing a set with your name brand, with your store. What's a typical day for you for your business just during the week?
Well, every day is an adventure, kind of, is what I would say, is that there's no day that is exactly like one another. So, I mean, today, what's on my docket is going to this show. Here's my pickups right here. So I've got the ones that are ready for grading in the grading pile. I've got all the pickups that I got today listed in the store and inventoried and recorded what I have into them now. And then the last thing to do tonight will just be doing some shipping. But some days shipping comes first. If the grading order comes back in, then I'll take care of that. If sometimes it's consignment stuff that comes first. So that's what I love about it a lot, is that it's always something new every single day, or no day feels the same. and each day has its own challenges. So it's just kind of one of those things, working on your own. I got to be responsible about it. I mean, sometimes I go down these rabbit holes on Twitter looking at cards, and then 20 minutes has passed by and got to snap back to it. But I'm good at keeping on track for the most part. I'm gonna give myself a solid B+ in that regard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I know you. When you send out your stuff, it is great. One of the greatest packing jobs ever. You can give a tutorial on that. I do appreciate it. Somebody that gets awful lot of stuff from you. I feel so, either from your store or through the grading. I do appreciate the time and effort you put into that stuff. And what is your store name, real quick, before we go further, on eBay?
Same one as right down here. So it's Triple Crown.
Okay, that's what I thought. And the reason why, because man, all your stuff, so your pictures and everything, is that, I know you got one of those white box things that are you still using that? Is that what you're taking your pictures in, or are you just taking pictures or scanning them, or how do you go about listing on there? Because you got so much stuff. I just kind of want to know how you put so many on, like, every day.
That was a great question. And see, I love the white box, because when you can get just like the perfect lighting on a photo for a card, and that's what I use for all my Instagram photos. Or if something's really nice and I want to give it the proper treatment on Twitter, then I'm going to use the box. The problem with it, though, is that it makes the cards almost look too good sometimes. And I always have believed in under promise and over deliver. So if there's any kind of doubt as to the condition of a card, I'm going to go with the lesser condition. If I don't want anyone to get something in from me and be disappointed with it, because it leads to resentment, or it could lead to a return or poor feedback. So it's self-satisfying for me and protective of my brand, I guess you could say, but in the same sense that I don't want someone to be disappointed, because I've had those mail days where you get a card in, there's dinged corner, or my least favorite is when the surface is scratched. I just cannot stand that on the chromium cards. It irritates me so much, and I don't want that experience to be passed on to my buyers. So what I do is I have actually a black T-shirt, kind of like this one right here, that is pinned up to the wall back over in the corner of my office, where I can have natural sunlight in if needed, or I have a lamp if I need better lighting in there. And I have my card stands there, and I actually just take my phone and I'll set it on one of these magnetic stands. I will have it there, and I'll put the card on the card stand, click the picture, tap it, swipe it over, and then I'll airdrop the photos onto my computer. And then for the most part, in the bulk listing settings, I'll use something that's called file exchange. So what I'll do is I'll enter in all the information for my listings into an Excel document, and then I upload it as a CSV file into eBay, and it will drop like 80 cards at a time. So if you ever go and like look at my store and see like, how did he list 80 cards in the last minute? Well, that's why I've been working on it for the past hour, but you don't see that work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So how many, like, on your best day, I thought you like that. What's up, Reese? So on your best day, how many cards will you get on eBay?
I can get up to 400. And the trick that I'll use is I have something that I call my autofill template on Google Docs. So it's another spreadsheet in addition to my regular spreadsheet, where I will have it where it will default put in, say I'm listing 2022 Topps Gypsy Queen. It will say 2022 Topps Gypsy Queen with the number for the card number. I usually label my base cards as base, so we'll have that base there. And all I have to do is then type in the other fields, player name, team name, card number. And if I need to change the price, if it's a player like Trout or Acuna or whatever, that may be more than that 99 cents, then I'll go into the right and change it. So what that does is that it prevents me from having to type out 2022 Topps Gypsy Queen every single time. I just have to go through and put in the names. So if it's something like that, it's very easy to do. For example, this stack right here, this was about 15-ish cards, and I think it took me 30 to 35 minutes, but these are better cards that I'm taking more time with and updating those little item specifics that we all love so much. So when you got to do all that, it takes a bit more time. But on the lower end stuff, it's definitely more so a quantity type of day rather than a quality type of day. So on a good day, 400 is a hard day's work, I would say.
Great. Yeah, because you have a lot, a lot of cards, and at good fair prices and easy to work with. I tell everybody to go to your site because you got everything from the high end to the dollar cards. It's a little bit for everybody. So do a very good job with that. And again, it seems like you're the type of guy that seems to me, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. If you can't do it right, you're not going to do it. Let somebody else that can do it right do it. And that's a very, very good thing to have. So my next question might be putting you on a spot a little bit. Where did you get all your knowledge from?
Let's Talk with Big Scott 35 here on YouTube.
No, I just joke because everybody's like, he's so knowledgeable, and you are. But I was like, where do you get your knowledge from? Do you, just absorb things very easily, or just logically thinking? Because to me, I think that's what a lot of it is to me. It's just kind of just thinking through it and dealing with it over and over and seeing the trends. And like your last great series you have on your channel with the philosophy of collecting. I'm not just saying that because you had a cute big guy on there talking about grading cards, but that last one, that would be me. So that last one you did with fads and trends was very intriguing. Like to come up with that and knowing the is that just from just seeing the same type of thing all the time, or or do you actually go in and do all the research, and how do you come up with, okay, this is going to be a fad, or is it an after the fact type of deal?
In terms of the content I discussed on that show, or
yeah, like you came up and you're like, this is a fad, is a trend, the rookie card explosion to me, because when I started collecting, this is a for instance. Well, when I was a kid collecting, the rookie card phenomena that we have now was not a thing, right? It was the all-stars, the greats, who was already established is who you look for. And it wasn't until, for me, I know it's different for different players or different people, but I didn't even really think about it till Greg Jeffries. Okay? I'm one of the Greg Jeffries guys. But I'm a Mets fan, right? So I remember him, Kevin Elster, back-to-back years. It might even started a little bit with Kevin Mitchell. I was a huge Kevin Mitchell fan. But I wasn't really I would have much rather got a Dave Winfield card, right, than one of those guys, even at that point. So for you, can you kind of see what's going to be a fad and a trend? I'm not going to say you're clairvoyant by any means, but do you kind of see that because of the repetitive of this hobby, or just because this knowledge that I don't see or something? Because to me, I have to wait till afterwards for me.
Yeah. That's a difficult question. And if I had it down to an exact science too, I would be a millionaire, because it would be very easy. But what I mostly look at, I talk about this a little bit on the show, but a lot of it is genuine interest and why people are doing the things that they are doing. So, for example, the one I talked about a lot was Project 2020. And that was something where you could see that so many people bought in those cards, and you ask him, why were you interested in this? And well, it's because all these cards are selling for more than they were from Topps upon release, and these pre-sales are going for 5, 10, 20 bucks more, and it's ridiculous. It's too good
Right.
to be true. But how many of those people were genuinely interested in the actual art and the artists and the cards themselves? Probably closer to the number that we saw buying early on, which wasn't many, which is why those cards shot up later on, like your Ermsey Trouts or the ones that clocked in just over 1,000 on the print runs on them. So for the most part, and then when you get to the Shore Griffey and then kind of the subsequent cards after that, you see this peak of people who were mostly in it just for the money. And at that point, it tips the scales where you have a lot more sellers and buyers, and it forces prices to tank. So that's one of those things too, is that you can just see genuine interest in something if it has that staying power. Will people still want these types of cards long term? And I think a good way to kind of look at that is just history repeats itself. What can we learn from stuff? People say that this is the junk wax era 2.0, and I don't necessarily agree with that. Do I think that the base cards are overprinted? Absolutely. And one of the big problems thanks, Andy, I appreciate it. One of the big problems that you see today is from the difference in the junk wax era is that grading was not really a thing back then. And card conditions, the idea of having a card in good condition was putting it in a recessed screw down. One of those big, thick 1-inch ones. And the thicker the screw down, the better protected it was, I guess, was the mindset. So
you forgot the wooden plate that it sits on.
Yes, yeah.
I would like to me say that grading brought life back into the junk wax era, because now it's so hard to get high grades in a lot of those late 80s, 90s cards because they were so mass produced that the quality problems are there. So to me, it brought back some life in those, to me, a great era of cards for me.
Yeah. And counterpoint to that would be that when you look at that, like, yeah, they weren't, and there's some of those issues today, but people are not giving these cards much opportunity to be damaged. They go, anytime I watch a break of anyone, if there's a Mac Jones card, it immediately goes into a penny sleeve. There are very few people who are just, tossing these things around or anything. Like, they're not, people recognize right away that they could be something. So it doesn't allow very many opportunities for these cards to get damaged. And therefore, when they're in gem mint, quote unquote, gem mint shape, for them to actually be rare, despite how many, off-centered or ones that have that panini fingernail indent in them there may be. So I think that's a big reason why people say that now, is that there won't be this condition scarcity down the road, but there is still a lot of really good things out in today's products, and I think people are still treading waters trying to figure out exactly what that will be. But if you look at the history of the hobby, that's a good indicator. It won't predict things fully, but I think it's a good way to kind of see where we're going with this, is just looking at what has happened in the past and just getting into the minds of collectors now and really thinking of what they want.
So, Mike, this baseball card life, he has a question for you, which Mike is one of the greats in getting information out to us, is best way to ship a $10 raw card from eBay, top loader in white envelope, ?
If you are charging standard envelope pricing, then yes, I would say a top loader works, or a card saver one. I have used both, and I've only had one card ever damaged, but the card that was damaged, I could have sent it in one of those 1-inch screw downs, and that thing was not going to survive the way that envelope ended up. So, yeah, whatever you have available to you, just as long as it's what I usually do is I take a piece of printer paper and I will fold it. I'll put the card in the center, and then I use my painter's tape. I secure the lip of either the card saver or the top of the top loader. I put another piece on the other side just to give it extra security so it doesn't shake loose in transit, and then just fold it over, put it in the envelope. And like I said, only one out of thousands has ever come up bad. So that's the best way to go.
Well, thank you for that. Thanks for that question. Any other questions? Just put them over to over there and say that it's for us and not to the chat or to JT. You don't want to ask me anything because I'm just what? Yeah. Let's see. Lou Rock here. Yeah, the Griffey. That's probably Griffey is the one that I think put the rookie card on the map, probably just because Griffey was Griffey and everybody knew of him beforehand because he was on Sports Illustrated. He was on all these kids shows. He was on, everything. In '89, I graduated high school, but man, I already knew who he was, and that smile, the kid, the return, the second kid. So, has the new eBay card authentication impacted you? That's a great question, Reese.
That's a very timely question too, because I have just sold my first card that is going to have to go through that authentication. So we'll check back with me next week. It is not as a raw card.
It's a raw card. Okay.
So we will see how that goes. Personally, I think it's one of those features that nobody asked for. Would I have liked to see them change other things? Yeah, I've got a whole list. How much time you got? And I'll tell you what I would like to see them change. Right. But regardless, I think it is something that overall is very beneficial. Even with the graded cards, I saw someone on Twitter asking why would you do this? And there is a lot of issues with fake slabs out there, more than you might think. So I definitely could see there being some issues. And if I ever had a card that came back as inauthentic or not up to condition standards, I would probably be very mad. So again, when that inevitably happens, because it will probably happen at one point, check back then. But fingers crossed that I don't have to answer that part of it. And I can just say that, hey, thumbs up all the way. They do a great job with it. So fingers crossed on that. But yeah, that's a great question. I haven't had any experience with it yet.
I forgot who was it. Mike and Ty maybe was talking about it, and Mike brought up a point. If the buyer, requests it, it makes sense. But if he doesn't request it, nobody's requested it before. It really doesn't make sense. And what a lot of people are waiting for is that first non-PSA graded card to be rejected and see what happens. I think that's what the world is waiting for in our hobby world. I'll let you answer it. I know the answer. JT, you setting up at the National?
I am not. And, maybe one day, but I just love hanging out too much. And I wouldn't want to be kind of ball and chain to a table rather than getting to go walk the show floor. I feel like it's a much better experience if I go walk around. So no plans to set up.
Hi, Jeff McMahon. This is a new person I haven't seen on the channel. Welcome. JT, any plans to set up again at the Troy, Michigan show?
Jeff, that is a great question. I love the Troy show, and I love going back there. It's just ever since the pandemic, I have not had a chance to get back there. And it seems like every single time I kind of try to make plans to get back that way, something comes up. But yes, that is one of my favorite shows to go to. I would love to go back now because a lot has changed. The last time I was there was February of 2020, and so much has changed for me since then. So it would kind of be cool to kind of go back there after so much time to even see what I could do now, having gained some more experience and learning from some mistakes and bringing some new inventory into the fold.
Yeah, I got the shakes. That's why I'm eating cucumbers.
I don't
the diabetes is kicking in.
Diabetes. JT, being a fellow player collector, do you get frustrated with all those rainbow cards being produced?
That's a loaded question there. Yeah, that is one of the primary reasons that I stopped doing it, is because it is impossible to keep up. And as someone who does it for a living, I feel like there are I say at least once a week, there's a time that I have to go look up a parallel. It's not like it's from some 90s set that I've never heard of before. It's a current day set. And I have no idea what this parallel is supposed to be, but to make sure it's accurately listed, especially if it's on consignment, I don't want the consignee to get screwed over because I didn't know what I had in front of me. To go look it up. There is a lot of it now, and one of the big things too that I've seen, I don't think enough people talk about this. If you look at 2022 Tops Series 1, I did a case break of it on Whatnot, and we had like 8 or 9 Tops Golds, so the parallel is numbered to year of release, out of the whole case, where you used to get like 4, 5, 6 per box back in the day. So now when you have that and you have a 350 subject checklist, something like that, think about how many cases you would have to open in theory with perfect collation to get one of those golds. Number one, it shows you just how much of the base is truly out there and how much of those non-numbered inserts that are more readily available are actually out there. But at the price point has gone up and the pull rates have gone down, which means that the singles, in a sense, have become more scarce. It's the reason that, like the 92 elites, yeah, there are 10,000 of them out there, but your thumbs are going to get sore ripping all that wax to try to get to one. So you better be ready. And that's kind of the same thing that I'm seeing now with a lot of these parallels today, especially the lower numbered ones.
That's too easy. You got to go straight for the
But man,
card.
It looks pretty when you put it in your Z-Follow and show all the pretty colors together.
It does.
Between you and old Eric, y'all got me filling them up now.
Here's the pot calling the kettle black right here.
Yeah, I thought I had to put that up there. We're going to have a film crew just to follow you around, Andy, just to see.
Let's get a pool started to see who's going to get one first. Or at all.
I can tell you right now, Wednesday night, JT will have a handful at least.
If we did a poll on that, that would be like 1 seed versus a 16 seed in March Madness. Like, could it happen? Yeah, like once in a blue moon. But yeah, and I'm buying a card before Andy does. That's how it's going to go down. We all know.
Your prediction on the next PSA price drop. This is from Big Scott Gary.
Oh, that's a tough one. In terms of when I think it will happen or when I think the price will be, I'll say that. So we just had our January 2021 Modern Pop, and I believe the last ones that we have out right now, besides one economy event, is the March submissions that we sent off, which were the final ones before they shut down the bulk submissions. Now they still have what I call Tsunami Week, where there was that first week in March where everybody sent in their stuff because they expected the price increase that did happen. So they still have to get through that. And I've found that as time has gone on, they've gotten slower in terms of progressing through the backlog, not necessarily in terms of number of cards being graded, but the timeline in which they were sent in, which makes sense because more cards were sent in towards the back. So I would say I wouldn't expect anything to change before the National. I would probably think that PSA will take a look at their quarterly numbers sometime in October, and maybe around Halloween you'll see a bulk service return at the prices that we saw in March of 2021. That would be my best guess right now.
Was that 30? Was that $30 then?
I'm going to guess 20 for modern.
Yeah.
And vintage and TCG, and then 25 for ultra modern.
So you think they're going to go back to that pricing, all the way down to that, huh?
I do.
Wow. Okay, I hope so, because then
well, they're going to have to do something with as many memberships too that they keep extending. They're going to stop wanting to do that. So
when they do that, that's going to be the shot heard around the world in the other ones, because then we're going to have to see the response from SGC and CSG, and I know Beckett is back, but let's I don't know. I don't know much about what's going on with them. I just know they're back.
JT, I remember back, I guess when right after the tsunami started, and there was, you were getting some information from PSA, and you were putting it out to your folks that submit with you, and with the whole herd of issues that came down from PSA on some other submitters owing money. Is that still an issue as a submitter, a bulk submitter like yourself, impacting any of your submissions and how they do if they don't grade a card, that kind of thing?
I haven't seen any impact to it, and when something comes up like that, it gives everybody a bad look. Like if there's a group break scam that goes on, then everybody looks at breakers with in a bad light. Whenever there's a scandal, usually the whole group kind of takes the the hit for it. Mm-hmm. For me, I haven't really seen too much of that. Now, the only thing that I've seen is that we've had a couple of upcharges on a couple of occasions, and have been able to successfully fight off all but one of them. And I talked to the gentleman. He sent in a Joe Burrow RPA out of 25, and that was probably the worst one to try to fight because I think it came back right around the time that they went on their playoff run. So the timing couldn't have been any better for that card to come back, but we talked it over, and he was more than happy, considering that he got a 10 on this card. So I think the money on it came back where he was.
An RPA that back as a 10. That's something right there from PSA. That's something. So,
thank you.
I want to say hi to John Mangini. That's the first time I think I've seen you in here. A lot of respect to him and his collection. Who else we got here? We got a nice group of fellas tonight in here. So now we're past that. Let's do the road to the national. First question: do you have a bid this year?
Do I have a
bid? Are you sleeping on the floor?
I do not have a bed. I have upgraded to a couch or a air mattress to be determined, but it will be a piece of furniture to be named later. So
I mean, at least get can Mike bring the Norman's bed for you or something? Anything? Yeah. You're a little guy, you fit in that thing. Jeez.
Go to the Army Navy store and get you a cot. Will travel.
The problem is last year, Andy and I went into negotiations, and he would only accept if I was Big Spoon, and I just wasn't willing to commit, so I took the floor. So yeah,
that's not what the story he told me. So we'll have to we'll find out on the Thursday night. Now
we were not there. We'll take your.
Yeah. We know there's three stories to all of them, so we'll listen to your truth, I guess. So when you go this year, are you strictly just seeing what you could get for your table at any other shows, or are you going for, I know you hit the dollar boxes or the slab boxes, whatever we want to, because last time there was a lot of slab discount. I hate to call them dollar boxes because they're not dollar, but you know what I'm saying. Is that what you're looking for? Because you did the video on the 8s and 9s, a lot of good content on that. Is that something that you're going to be looking for there? Because there's a lot of that there where people are just trying to get rid of that.
The one thing I'll say about those slab value boxes last year is that they were certainly slab boxes. I couldn't find the value most of the time.
I agree. That's why it's hard to say.
You're an honest
almost
man.
Like, are this stuff you just didn't fit in your case, or what is this it's in a box? You would think it's discounted, but so
right. This summer, what I'm doing right now is that there's a lot of good buying opportunities in the hobby right now. What I'm basically going and doing is pretty much the same thing that I always do is there's a very heavy reliance on the information that people can get on their phone regarding their cards. And I'm going to try to use my knowledge to the best of my ability to kind of work around those systems. That's a good idea. That that will get Andy to buy a card, I bet, if you make that a rule. That's a great idea. So, like for example, today I picked this up at the show, and this didn't happen with this, but it's a 1955.
All right, let's see if I can do this. We tried before. Hold on.
There we go.
Yes.
It's a 1955 Topps Ernie Banks in a 6.
Yes.
And I got this for a very fair price today.
Okay.
And this is an example of something that would happen is that when I see a card like this, typically what I'll see is that people will look up their comps and they want to see that. But what the comps don't tell you is eye appeal. What the comps don't tell you is not all 6s are created equal. So maybe there's something that I'm looking for. Personally, I'm a centering guy. I appreciate it, John. Thank you. This one, is the centering the best? No, but I looked at it and the way that you're seeing it right now, it passes the eye test for me. So that's something that I see. This is a good example of this card. And I got it for essentially what I would say is the lowest comp. I didn't pay sales tax on it or shipping too, which definitely helps with it. But it's these types of things that I'm looking for to possibly get, or something like this card that I got in today.
Nice.
The Mackenzie Gore Superfractor, where there is no comp for it. And a lot of times you should see some of the dealers that deal with it is a deer in headlights when there's no completed sales to reference. So when you go and you take a look at that, you can kind of find things and just take advantage of what the atmosphere of the hobby is right now. I think there's a lot of people looking to sell. There's a lot of people who, if they don't have that sales data to use, they may not accurately price their stuff, or they may not know exactly what they have. And just seeking those opportunities, or let them seek me, is the game plan for the National. But I hope that it will be a big show. I have high expectations, but I'm going to have fun. So the cards are an ancillary piece. It is a business trip, but it's one real fun business trip, let me tell you. So.
Yeah, that's I know what our ultimate goal is, as all of us as a community is. I mean, just looking at the comments, we're all having fun. We all getting the jokes. I love the hashtag of what me and Jeannie, we need to get Rick live at the show. I think we're going to try to get him somewhere live. Hashtag and the Misfits. Y'all need to get I don't know if y'all know the Misfits band, but if y'all put a flag on y'all's house, that would be funny. That would make everybody's YouTube page, I guarantee. So I think, getting with people, but we have to talk about the cards at some time. And we showed cards, so that makes Pepino Man happy. And that's, those are things we have to do. So, yes, I cannot wait to just see all of our friends in this community face to face and not having a barrier in between us of miles. It's space. That's the can't wait. New friends, old friends, all the like. But yeah, the finding of cards and that card there. Speaking of centering, I don't necessarily need perfect centering, but I like to have all 4 edges somewhat. Like that card you showed, I like to have the white on the 3, the color across the bottom. I don't want the name buried into the bottom for the Ernie Banks. A lot of that made great sense to me. So are y'all going to be there Tuesday?
Yeah, so I'm making the drive from Cincinnati to Atlantic City, so that's about a 10-hour hike, and I drive slow, so we have to add some time onto that, unfortunately. Where the exact timeline of it, I'm not sure, but I'm picking up my friend Andy. I don't know if he's still here with us, and Mike from the airport, and then we'll be making our way to AC from there. So it'll be a fun journey. I think having the road trip part of it is kind of fun too. It's definitely a lot better driving to the National than driving back home because, well, all the excitement's gone and it's very tiring. I remember last year. I don't even actually. I should take that back. I don't remember coming home last year from Chicago. That drive has completely escaped me at this point. I couldn't tell you a single thing that I did besides
So,
I think I got some.
how far is it
slices
from
of pizza.
Chicago for you, by the way?
Probably 6 hours when you factor. It should be 5, but the traffic you got to tack on at least 1.
Right.
I'm with you. I'm the only, part of the fun is going, so, and I'm looking for this adventure and meeting everybody as well. But I'm kind of like, man, when I drop Scott off at Winston, I've got to still drive home.
It's not that far, though.
It's going to suck. So,
how far is it? Like maybe 40 minutes?
No, it's a little bit longer than that.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't feel I went that way. Like I said yesterday, I didn't feel that.
Yeah, you came down 77 though, didn't you?
I don't know. I just drove. I GPS said go, and I went. I said yes, ma'am. Okay, I was just reading.
Once you're JT, as far as the National being up there for the days up there, once your game, do you go up there with a game plan other than looking at cars? Like, how do you schedule your day? You're like, all right, I want to catch the show in the morning or take a break. How do you break your day up?
It's nonstop. I kind of just let it go as it progresses. I find that something like that, I could spend the entire 10-hour drive coming up with some kind of game plan in my head. But when you walk into that room, it just kind of all goes out the window and you can kind of just get caught in the moment. So I have a general idea of what I'm looking for, and I'll have my notes to kind of keep me grounded. But I do like to have an open mind going into these shows. I didn't expect to pick up an Ernie Banks today. I didn't expect to buy a Super Fractor today, but that's what I ended up with. If you would have asked me what I was going to buy, that was definitely not it. So, and I'm all over the place. So I don't know what I'm going to see yet, but I'm excited to see what I don't think I'm going to see. So that's the non-answer there. I don't feel like I really gave you a clear answer, but
no, you did.
Well, this is his first one, so he's going to ask questions because he really wants to know because he's trying to figure it out for himself. And I mean, you've been several, and it's hard to explain until you do it, and it's still kind of overwhelming.
Well, what are you looking to pick up?
What's that?
What are you looking to pick up this year, Nats man?
Honestly, I haven't had anything in mind until probably today. Would be to on the Soto archives with the 2011 throwback. I understand that there is a orange and a red. I've got the 2 reds version fulls with the 70th and then the other one, and then I just was able to make a deal on the green one. So I think I'm looking for the red one and the orange, not the red, but the orange for that one for sure. I know I think there was a Super Fractor and it's gone.
So those types of cards, it's going to feel like a needle in the haystack for those types of cards. I would say, from my experience, and Scott can back me up on this from last year in Chicago, for guys like Soto, there were dealers who had like entire cases where you would have like a whole row of Acuna and then like a whole row of Soto, or sometimes even like whole cases dedicated to these huge names. So that might be your best bet in terms of giving yourself like the most opportunity to go after a lot of those. A lot of times it's just going to be your US 300s or your bat down Acunas. Right. So it's not necessarily always going to give it to you, but if they have that kind of stuff, at least maybe you can ask about it too. But yeah, those types of cards, they can be tough to find, but if there is one place to find them, that is definitely going to be the place. So
thank you.
Yeah, because I've been looking for some of the shorter print Alonsos from 2019. I had yet to see it. They're supposedly clear. They're supposedly printing plates. They're supposedly a platinum, and further away, I know that I'm getting from 2019, the less likely is I see the putting plates or the platinum, but you would think you would see a clear. It's only out of 10. So you would think every once in a while you would see one pop up, and I have yet to see one.
So, this is the Series 2 Alonso rookie, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to look something up here.
All right. If you find one, I even have it on my bell ringer on eBay. Okay. What link you want?
I think he wants to join the show.
You want to join the show, Rock? I need a whole show just for your shenanigans, as my brother Victor would say. Or do you want me to get Rick on?
So here's something. The clears are they're hobby only. So in theory, there should not be any retail packs or jumbo hobby packs. The regular hobby boxes. There's 100 subjects from the Series 2 checklist on there. And the hobby odds for the clear is 1 in every 1,223 packs.
Right.
There are 288 packs in a hobby case. So you're looking at, rough math here, 5 cases to pull 1 clear. And then to get the clear of the exact player you want, then you're looking at 500 cases. So that's a lot of wax to rip and to find that Alonso. So that is probably why you have not seen any.
But do you think, how many hobby boxes do you think are still out there, right? That's the year, that's the Tatis rookie in that, right?
Yeah. So it's never been cheap, but there was a window before the pandemic where it was still reasonable. I remember one of my big regrets early on is I passed on a jumbo case for $650 back in December of 2019, which is going to make a lot of people cringe. If you look I don't know what they go for now, but
I went to it. This is how crazy, how dumb the COVID thing and people are. Because I went to a show, it couldn't have been probably a month before the lockdown, the shutdown. I found 4 blasters at a Walmart 2 blocks from the show I went to of 2019 Series 2. And I picked those up because I always do pick them up, and I knew the clear was in the hobby, but I can still pick up. I have a Mother's Day now, but I would like to get a Father's Day one and not pay the premium for it that is out there right now. I can't find one in the price range that I'm.
I pulled a Jordan clear. From a case that I bought and graded it, got an SGC 10, and I sold it. Knew I was going to sell it, but I was like, man, I kind of wished I had it back still a little bit, because I've not seen any. I think I've seen 3. You just don't see them, like you said. That's so much wax. You gotta break to get that.
Yeah. I probably need to start asking a lot more, Andy. But I am just, especially to show that big. Man, I kind of just roll through it. Especially last year, I was so narrow focused on what I was looking for, and I knew being there was going to be the best place for me to find what I was looking for, and it was, and got good deals on it. And I was kind of done went there on Thursday. I was kind of done on Friday morning with my week.
Did Bobbles see that?
That was just kind of fun.
Did Bobbles see them?
Did you see what else? This one? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, John Mangini, Bobbles is still on here. Oh, there he is. Yeah, there you go.
Is this the first live trade negotiations on the show?
Yeah. We're making history, baby.
We're gonna see some fireworks over here in a minute. So you're going in on Tuesday, and what day did you say you're leaving? Are you leaving Friday as well, or Saturday?
I'll be leaving on Saturday. I just find people say that the best deals are on Sunday, which is true. But just for me, after walking the show that many times, it might sound ridiculous, but I do feel like I've seen everything that I need to see. And it's probably best for my wallet, too, that I leave on Saturday rather than Sunday because
Yeah,
things can get ugly.
and I tell you the truth. Yeah, you're going to find some deals, but a lot of times it's not on cards, right? It's going to be on memorabilia stuff, bigger things that people don't want to pack up. Because the cards, a lot of times they got them. They're going to you buy for people there that have to take them off of their eBay page when they sell them to you, right? So that's something that's readily sold on eBay anyway. I have found on Sundays, that's where I got my Ralph Sampson autographed jersey. Got it next to nothing. Of course, there's not too many of us Ralph Sampson collectors out there. So if y'all don't know, he played basketball for University of Virginia in the 80s. Was rookie of the year in NBA. He had a Puma shoe out too. He had a shoe out. It wasn't Michael Jordan, but he had a shoe. I have found some good deals on there and for that, and even some wax deals where people just don't want to box that stuff up. But last year, I can tell you what, there weren't many boxes left when it came around to Sunday to get a deal, and I just didn't see. There were some people with the actual dollar boxes that had stuff out there were $2 for $1, something like that, but not the better stuff. Yeah. So with that, anything? What is your next show for the philosophy of collecting? What are you having? I remember I watched it yesterday. I can't remember who you said.
It will be a fun one. So I'm bringing on my good friend Mike. We have a rule on the show that we have to have a Mike quota. So one Mike must appear every single month.
Canadian cards, love him.
Yeah.
Love him.
Otherwise, yes. I get demonetized and kicked off of Spotify. So Mike Canadian Cards is going to join me, and we're going to talk. It's championship season with NBA Finals going on right now, and then we'll have the Stanley Cup fairly soon too. And for him, I want to talk about McKinnon versus McDavid, and do championships matter in the hobby? So really just trying to see, because I hear the LeBron versus Jordan debate. You talk about the number of rings and all that. Right. And Mike Trout, like, oh, he's never going to win a ring. Sorry, Angels fans, if you're in the chat. And right. just seeing, does that really matter to us these days, and kind of get his feedback. And we'll go sport by sport and look at historical. So it'll be a fun show, I think, and probably make some people upset who are fans of some of these players. But that's what we do.
Mike is awesome. One of the great guys in this hobby. He's one of my hockey guys that I contact when I need to. Dr. Exclusive, who was on here earlier. I hope he's still on here. The hobby's great. The hobby's strong. The hobby, I think, is going to remain strong no matter what downturn we have or whatever. So we have the philosophy. You're still you're on. You have, what's the name of the Facebook group?
Triple Crown 24 Myco's grading submissions. Nice and short and sweet.
There you go. And you do PSA, SGC, and you even said y'all are looking into maybe doing CSG.
Yeah, I've got my first CSG submission right here. It's 3 cards, but it's in progress. So
right, I just sent one in this week. I love CSG for the PC, just because the pricing's right for it, and also the prettiest plastic in the game. Just so I mean, I'm sure you've seen one in hand. I mean, you've had.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, and the new flip looks just like GMA, but I don't care. It's not GMA greatness, so we need.
That's probably the best thing that's happened to GMA in the last 10 years is the fact that a company like CSG kind of copied their look and gave them some clout.
Yeah, well, we're gonna call it a night, and thank you for coming on, Triple Crown. It's been Great talking to you. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Been great tonight. You can see everybody, see him on Triple Crown 24. Check him out on eBay. Check him at your local shows. Seems like he's got people in here that know about him with that. You can check him
all
out
over the place
on his. It's Triple Crown 24 is the name of your thing on podcast as well.
So the easiest way, if you go to my Twitter handle at It's Triple Crown, there's a link in my bio. It's a link tree. It has all my links. So it will show you my eBay, my podcast, Facebook, anything that I'm on.
OnlyFans.
Yeah, well, that's coming next year.
All right. Until next time, please, everybody, hit that finger up one time for me and like, share, tell a friend. Road to the National, baby. And we'll see you next time.
Deuces.